happy today, guys! Actually, we started out our day medyo late kasi I'm still not recovered from the weekend since medyo puyaters pa din tayo ng a little bit. However, I'm gonna update you or just a quick recap our reading journey so far this month. So, kapag di ka pa nakapanood ng yesterday's vlog, I'll just put it here kasi I read Theresy Requiem. I'm currently reading Theresy Requiem by Emile Zola. And I've been loving it so far. I'm 50 pages in. Kasi ini-start ko lang siya kagabi. I think this is gonna be a pretty fast read kasi out of 200 pages lang siya. Our philosophy book of the month, which is Either Or by Soren Kierkegaard. Yan, yung pangalawang current read natin. And then, kaninang umaga, tinuloy ko ng aking How to Read Literature Like a Professor by Thomas Foster. And I finally read the third chapter. Tapos i-discuss ko sa inyo or kukwento ko sa inyo kung ano yung key points niya. And I also read a comment that you guys wanted me to talk about more dito sa book na to. Third chapter is titled Nice to Eat You, Acts of Vampires. So, this chapter is all about vampirism. Di ba ang vampire may mga fangs, may mga cape, and ang unang-unang niyang binigyan na example is si Dracula. Di ba si Dracula, very old man, and then he sucks the life out of young people para bumalik yung kanyang youth. I really like this chapter kasi ang pinaka-point niya is yung mga ghosts kasi and vampires, they're not always taken literally. Vampirism also means selfishness, exploitation, a refusal to respect the autonomy of other people. So, hindi mo take at face value na, vampire na nanakot, ghost na nanakot lang siya. Kasi, one good example of this, ako naman yung nailala ko dito na beyond pa sa literal na meaning ng ghost or vampire is yung Frankenstein, di ba? Merong monster and then si Frankenstein yung scientist na gumawa ng monster. So, in face value, makikita mo na parang very nakakatakot si monster, nakakatakot yung ginawa niyang creation, malaki, hindi normal na itsura ng tao, very powerful creature. Siyempre, pag nakama-cross mo ang isang monster na ganun, matatakot ka talaga. Pero beyond that, face value is something deeper and ang akin ang interpretation ko nun is yung parenthood. Kasi once na hindi na ginagawa ni monster yung gustong gawin ni Frankenstein, nung scientist na creator niya, inabandona na ni Frankenstein yung monster. So, nagkaroon tuloy ng talagang, alam mo yung feeling of gusto niyang ma-accept sa society and hindi niya ma-accept sa sarili niyang creator yon. So, what more sa society and he's longing for that acceptance. Hence, nagkaroon sila ng parang crazy, chaotic dynamic na naghahabulan silang dalawa. I think Frankenstein teaches you more about parenthood than your typical parents' advices books. Kasi sa Frankenstein, makikita mo na hindi lang natatapos yung pagiging magulang sa pag-create ng life. Napanganak na kita, nabuo na kita, na-nurture na kita ng isang best sa pakain na kita. Kasi meron pa yung emotional, diba? Like, alagaan mo emotionally, alagaan mo din physically, and yung mga, kung hindi man niya gagawin yung mga gusto mong gawin niya sa buhay. Kasi nag-expect si Frankenstein na, you're gonna be the greatest invention ever. Pero, hindi nakakapagsalita si monster. Hindi niya natututunan yung mga sinasabi agad ni Frankenstein. So, na-frustrate si Frankenstein. Di ba ganun naman pagbata? Parang, it takes a lot of time to nurture a child, to palakihin ng isang bata, and hindi mo pwede yung parang tutuktukin mo lang siya para lang mas maintindihan niya lalo. Ayun yung para sa akin. Hindi niya sabi dito yung example ng Frankenstein kasi sa akin, yun yung one of the best example na hindi literal lang na ghost or monster ang gustong iparating ng author. Next point naman is, many of these, yung vampirism is coming from Victorian writers. So, sila Dickens daw, sila Henry James. I recently read Henry James last year kasi sabi, hindi daw makarite ng Victorians yung literal na about sa sexuality. Kaya gusto nila yung tinatransform nila yung mga taboo subjects in other forms kung paano na na-express. And also, ghosts and vampire don't always have to appear in visible forms. Kasi, ang perfect example ito is si Henry James, which is the master of psychological realism. Yung ginamit niya example dito, perfect kasi nabasa ko yun, which is The Turn of the Screw. In that book, we actually don't know if the ghost ghost is real or not, or it's all happening on her head. Hindi kasi natin alam kung totoo yung ghost na nakikita ng main character sa Turn of the Screw, because it can also be like lahat nangyayari sa utak niya. So, walang nakaka-back up na may nakikita din talagang ghost na visible, kundi siya lang nakakapagsabi. And I love how mismo itong author na to, hindi din niya alam yung literal na meaning or yung translation ng book na yun, kasi interpretations niya ng isa is pwedeng nagkaroon siya super delusion because of wanting to protect so bad, tapos parang nagkakaroon ka na ng paranoia, which happens a lot, I think, when it comes to motherhood. Siyempre, hindi pa ako nanay, pero I feel like that's one of the magiging problem ko in the future, kasi we're naturally overthinkers. So, parang yung ghost in that story is not literal in a sense, kundi parang feel mo lang may mangyayaring masama sa anak mo palagi, or may mangyayaring aksidente. Alam mo yung parang yung tension sa'yo na parang hindi ka laging mapakali. Like, laging nandyan lang sa gilid mo yung alala mo na baka may mangyaring masama, pero hindi mo naman siya ma-back upan na totoo ba mangyayari, kasi wala ka naman nakitang any valid or any logical reason para masabi mo talaga na, ay, mangyayari to sa exact date, masasagasahan ka, ganyan-ganyan. So, that's one of the ways to interpret that book. Kaya yung sasabi na to na hindi din literal talaga ang mga ghost in visible form. Kasi may mga books naman talaga na literal talaga na may mga ghosts na talaga nagpapakita, ganyan, vampire na pumapatay, ganyan. Pero in terms of hindi lahat ng ghost is visible, it's all happening in your head. One of my favorites also, kasi sabi niya, you don't need fangs and cape to be a vampire. So, bakit nga ba't nasabi yun? Kasi sabi, di ba, ang essentials of the vampire story is 1, an older figure representing corrupt, outworn values. 2 is a young, preferably virginal female. And then 3 is a stripping away of her youth, energy, and virtues. 4 is a continuance of the life force of the old male. 5 is the death or destruction of the young woman. So, yan yung nagko-compose ng vampire, di ba? So, nanggagaling yung author, sabi niya na hindi mo naman kailangan ng fangs and ng cape and ng very, yung outwardly appearance ng vampire just to be a vampire. Kasi, ang pinapoint out niya is, dito sa Daisy Miller na story, merong old man na kinukuha yung youth ng isang babae, but not in a literal sense. So, pwede natin sabihin na pinapaasa niya, minamanipulate niya, pinaglalaroan niya emotionally, na parang kalatuloy ng bata, magkakaroon na siya ng chance dun sa older man. I think this is like tale as old as time. Lagi natin nakikita yung grooming, kumbaga, paano ginagamit ng older males ang kanilang power dynamics to seduce, paglaruan, paasahin ng mga younger female, kasi they don't really know any better. So, we can say that vampirism is hindi literal in most of the literary, kasi ginagamit din siya for narrative vehicle where someone grows in strength by weakening someone else, placing our desires above the needs of another. So, very vampire-like, alam mo yung personality, ganyan. And ang pinaka nagustuhan ko din dito is yung last sentence sa chapter to, which is, as long as people act toward their fellows in exploitative and selfish ways, the vampire will be with us. So, as long as may mga taong nang-exploit ng tao, may nang-manipulate, may kumukuha ng youth mo, ng happiness mo, like, may nagiging selfish, meron at meron palaging vampires sa paligid natin. And, Alexa, play Vampire by Olivia Rodrigo. That's super rambly, but I find it very interesting, and nakakatuwa siya i-share kasi nakakapag-improve talaga ng little by little kung paano natin basahin ng mga literatures, or even hindi lang sa classics, kasi kahit sa mga modern romance novels, it will definitely apply, kasi syempre may mga talagang characters din naman talaga na nagagamit ng tao, may different symbolisms din sila, so you can just like pick up on it na parang konti-konti. Okay, now that our brain is a little bit warmed up, I think it's time. It's time to move on to our Kierkegaard crash course, I guess. Syempre, lalabas natin ang ating precious notebook. 326. We're gonna start. I'm stopping. 3 pages lang yung nagamit ko ngayon. I mean, nabasa ko today, but I'm stopping right there. Ito sa page 63, yung pinaka-last din na pinakita ko sa inyong mga line, which is, to want rightly, on the other hand, is a great art, or rather, it is a gift. So, the reason why I'm stopping there, kasi masyado ng madaming ideas into 3 pages, and I think I'm gonna share them with you, kasi I feel like some of you also wanted to know about my thoughts, and kung paano ko siya in-interpret. And if you don't have the access to the book, or kung gusto mo lang din, like, makuha yung idea from me reading. Okay, I'm gonna start with yung pinaka-sinabi ko last. This is actually very good. Kasi yung sinabi niya na to want rightly is a great art, or rather, it is a gift. So, I did a little bit of research pa kasi medyo hindi ko alam kung tama ba yung interpretation ko or ano ba talaga yung meaning ni Kierkegaard about. And he actually has an essay that backs it up na yung about sa purity of heart is to will one thing. So, parang same lang sila about the desire or wanting something. So, isa sa mga points niya na pag may gusto ka daw, it's not about wanting anything lang, pero it's about wanting it in the right way with unity and depth. So, he's not just talking about na gusto ko kumain ng pandesal. Hindi lang ganun. I think one of the reasons why he considers wanting as an art kasi minsan, di ba, may problem tayo with double-mindedness. Meaning, ang dami nating gustong mga conflicting things which leads to confusion and lack of meaning. Kunyari, unemployed ka. Tapos gusto mo magkaroon ng trabaho, di ba? Siyempre, gusto mo ng trabaho, kailangan mo ng trabaho. Tapos, biglang, pag nagkaroon ka ng trabaho, may gusto ko na naman gawin. Gusto mo naman ng side business. Tapos, gusto mo din magtayo ng ganito. Tapos, gusto mo din ma-promote. Tapos, gusto mo din mag-invest. Tapos, gusto mo din mag-ganyan. So, probably the reason why he says wanting is an art kasi it's not just kung ano yung gusto mo, pero yung how deeply and truthfully you want that thing. So, pag gusto mo ng something, if you're desiring something, how deeply ba talaga na gusto mo talaga siya sa buhay mo and hindi lang yung kailangan ko kasi ng pera hindi lang yung feel ko masaya siya kasi nakita ko sa ibang tao na masaya sila because they have this thing. Ang pinaka-point niya na wanting is an art is yung gaano ka truthful sa sarili mo na talagang gusto mo siya and it's not because of influences from other people, influence sa logical self mo, ganyan. Which leads us to the next point na next time sabi niya na wanting is profound. So, what does profound mean? Actually, hindi ko din alam dati yun eh. So, profound is intellectual or deeply insightful, ganyan. So, bakit nga ba na wanting is deeply intellectual? So, he's pushing against the idea na wanting is shallow or random. So, totoo naman. I do agree kasi kapag may gusto tayong bagay na gawin sa buhay, hindi siya nanggagaling out of nowhere, eh, 'di ba? It's not like a shallow reason parang may gusto ko wala akong magagawa Yung gusto mo sa buhay, yung desire mo, reveals who you are becoming and not just what you like. I actually had a little help here kasi may gumawa ng study about his point of view sa desire and they argue that Kierkegaard cares more about who to become than what to choose. So, wala namang nagmamatter sa kanya kung ano yung pinili mo sa buhay pero ang nagmamatter sa kanya is anong nagiging tao ka, paano ka nasa-shape ng desire mo, ng gusto mo sa buhay, paano ka nagiging better person just because you chose that and just because gusto mo lang gawin niya sa buhay. Paano siya nakaka-contribute sa sarili mo? So when he says that one thing is more significant than usual, he means desire is existential. It shapes your life, not just your preferences. Kasi yung mga gusto mo sa buhay, nagsha-shape ng identity mo, ng faith mo, and ng purpose mo or meaning mo sa buhay, diba? Sa akin siguro pwede naman pabago-bago yung gusto mo sa buhay. Pero yung mga na-try mo na or na mga nagustuhan mo sa buhay na gawin, I think it really shapes you as a person. Kasi for example, ako, ang dami kong gustong gawin sa buhay. Syempre, we're young, we're free. So, gusto ko i-try itong maging gusto ko matry maging streamer. Tapos kasi yung parang itch sa akin na gusto kong i-try siya kasi wala desire is like who I'm becoming and that during that time sobrang na-enjoy ko siya and during that time I feel like it contributed to my life na binigyan niya ako ng meaning to wake up to, the reason to wake up to every day. So, nung hindi na siya nagbe-benefit sa akin, iba naman yung gusto ko kasi parang nung na-try ko na siya, parang, ganito pala yung feeling. I think I actually want something different. Kasi nag-realize ko after trying and after a few years na parang, hindi siya nag-a-align pala sa akin. Kumbaga, mas nakilala ko pa yung sarili ko because of my desire na parang trinay ko lang siya. And I gave it a shot kasi why not? Diba? Kasi ayokong mag-live in regrets. And I think that's one of his meaning na yung desire, akala nyo hindi siya ganun ka-significant na akala nyo nag-choose lang kayo ng something na trip nyo lang. Sinabi na next, to the abstract understanding, it may seem ridiculous. Since the latter really thinks of wanting in respect of what is not in respect of what is. Ang abstract thinking, sasabi niya, is an abstract thinker. So, yung mga logical thinker, yung hindi naniniwala na may mga passion, ganyan. Kasi, pure logic treats desire as irrational and secondary to reason. So, parang hindi sila naniniwala siguro sa bugso na damdamin na parang, gusto ko talaga gawin to, kahit hindi ko alam, hindi ko ma-explain kung bakit. So, sa kanila, pas pinaprioritize nila yung reason na parang, bakit mo ba gusto yan? Diba? Parang, ano ba gagawin mo dyan? Like, kailangan may reason ka to actually want something. But Kierkegaard thinks real life isn't lived through logic alone. So, yung meaning mo sa buhay comes from passion, commitment, and inward experience, which I totally agree. Kasi may mga times talaga na wala kang ma-explain kung bakit gusto mo yung isang bagay. And hindi mo matabi yung logic eh. For example, pag tayo gusto natin magbasa, di ba? For example, gusto natin magbasa sa everyday life natin or nagustuhan natin yung reading as an hobby. Hindi mo ma-explain yung logic kasi sabihin natin, well, nakaka-contribute siya sa anti-bed rot, anti-scroll, nakaka-contribute siya sa thinking mo, critical thinking mo. Pero yung desire of wanting to read, kasi pwede mo naman sabihin na kaya mo naman kunin yun with other forms of media, di ba? Pero hindi mo ma-explain kung bakit sobrang drawn ka sa reading or hindi mo ma-explain kung bakit sobrang passionate ka about reading, but gusto mo ng libro, gusto mo bumili ng libro, why you found some books interesting kahit hindi mo pa naman nababasa, di ba? Yung mga ganun. I think dito ko masasabi ma-apply din tong niya, no? Lagi kong inisip sa sarili ko na you are what you desire, you are what you want, and you are what you surround yourself with. So, pag sinusurround mo or fina-follow mo yung mga, sabihin natin yung mga TikTokers, influencers, na gusto mo, trip mo, ganyan. Syempre, yung influence nila na pupunta sa'yo. So, yung kung ano yung sinusurround mo yung sarili mo, kahit yung mga friends, diba? Yung mga media na kinukonsume mo, nagiging ikaw yun. Kasi wala ka naman ibang source din kundi yung mga pinipili mong i-follow, basahin, i-watch. Kasi yun lang yung sinusurround mo sa sarili mo diba? So, in a sense, talaga nag-a-apply na yung mga gusto mong gawin sa buhay, yun yung nagiging ikaw. It exactly shapes your mind, your presence, your kahit physical, diba? And yung decisions mo sa buhay. Kasi, for example, may fina-follow ka na or may friend ka na gusto mo siya, nakikita mo siya, you find her inspiring, diba? Tinatry mo din i-replicate yung mga decisions sa buhay. Kasi, gusto ko din ng ganitong buhay. So, ito yung ginawa niya, so and so, diba? So, alam mo yun, nagiging ikaw din talaga yung gusto mo. Then, the last line is, what I really like, which is yung since latter really thinks of wanting in respect of what is not in respect of what is. So, ang point dito ni Kierkegaard is, minsan daw kasi yung mga abstract thinker, diba? Yung mga logical nila na one thing, dahil may gusto ka, meaning, you're focusing on what you don't have. Which, wow, okay. Ito din naman yung logical reason na yun. Na pwede din siyang ma-apply na, for example, gusto mo ng pera kasi wala kang pera. Ganon, yung sinasabi niya na, kaya, sinasabi ng mga logical reasons na, kaya ka lang naman nagkakaroon ng desire or kaya ka lang naman nagumugusto kasi nakikita mo na wala ka nun. So, for logical thinkers, desire is all about lack, absent of something, or parang like a gap to be filled. But Kierkegaard argues that desire is about what is, your inner state, commitment, and being. Sabi niya na yung wanting something is an expression of who you are becoming, a reflection of your present inward reality. I think kapag may nagustuhan ka ng gawin sa buhay, I think you are really becoming that person that you want to be. And nagre-reflect kasi yun sa sa utak mo kung bakit ka may gustong gawin sa buhay or bakit ka nagde-desire ng something. Kasi you recognize na, kaya ako gusto magbasa ng philosophy kasi I recognize myself na wala akong alam sa buhay and I don't really know anything, and reading this actually doesn't make me smarter. Hindi ako nag-read na to just because I want to appear smarter. It actually does the opposite for me. Actually makes me dumber kasi di ko wala akong alam. Alam mo yung parang sobrang liit ng utak ko compare sa mga ideas nila. So I'm becoming this person because I wanted to explore on things that I recognize na alam kong wala ako. And it's not just about na gusto kong magbasa ng philosophy kasi wala akong utak, ganyan. But I want to be this person that knows something but doesn't know everything. Yung ganon. And I think it's really shaping me, ganyan. Kapag may kasi ano ko din talaga ako, I think I'm one of those people na talagang nagpapadala sa mga gusto na sa buhay in terms of when I am hyperfixated on something, I really want to do that kasi alam mo, parang ako jack of all trades. Parang madami akong alam ng konti-konti pero hindi ako master ng something. But I do have different branches kung saan-saan ako nagtatry kasi I just want to try everything. Ganun lang talaga akong tao. Kasi why not, diba? Kasi you only live once. And if you desire something, then try mo. And then pag di mo nagustuhan, then that's your answer, diba? Like, okay, hindi na to nagsiserve sa akin. So, next naman tayo kasi at least na mo na sa sarili mo na, hindi ako pang ganyan eh. Hindi ako talaga ganyan eh. So, it really like, you're becoming really that person na either gusto mo siya or hindi. So, okay na yun, di ba? So, in summary, I agree. Yun na yung linya na one thing is an art itself. Kasi, hindi naman kasi lahat blessed din na may something na gustong gawin sa buhay eh, di ba? Kaya nga, minsan naiingit din ako sa mga sobrang alam na nila yung gusto nilang gawin sa buhay. Like, bata pa lang sila, I wanna be a doctor. I wanna be a stewardess. I think I'm super rambly today. Wala, Gabi kasi pag topic ng ganito eh, diba? Parang interesting din naman niya. And I actually had a hard time talaga na binasa ko to kaya 3 pages lang yung kinary ko kasi nakot ng eye ko kasi yung gunong linya eh. Gusto kong i-expand kahit na hindi naman siya ganun siguro ka-significant sa the rest of the book. Pero wala eh, na-interest ako sa kanya talaga na parang ano ba meaning neto ni Kierkegaard about wanting is an art? Gusto ko tuloy title tong video na to about sa the desires or wanting, diba? Like, you are what you desire or you are what you want. I choose to surround myself with classic books. I choose to surround myself with these things, with philosophy, to surround myself with this community na sobrang supportive. So now, I'm gonna be supportive too, di ba? Parang, in-encourage din ako na maging supportive to other people, to be engaging. So, I think I'm gonna be a changed person and I'm gonna try my best. I mean, I'm not gonna try my best. I'm gonna do it na parang ipapasantabi ko na lahat ng worries ko, anxieties ko when it comes to social interaction. So, ewan ko, nakaka-encourage din kasi kayo na parang nagko-comment kayo na parang, hala, oo nga, no. Anyways, I am kind of hungry. Feel ko mag-miranda ako ng a little bit. That's the philosophy section for today. I'm just gonna drink water kasi ang dami kong daldal. Parang natuyot yata yung dalamunan ko.
I'll still